Okay. So yes, before we start the event, I would like to thank our founding sponsor, Innovation Roots, which is a leading consulting and training service provider, helping organizations to achieve business agility and beyond. It is one of the leaders and pioneers of niche publishing services and is well known for content collaboration with global thought leaders, authors, and creators. You can visit www.innovationroots.com for more information. And I would also like to thank our sponsor, Agile, which is a product offering from Tata Consultancy Services Limited. It is a purely cloud-based enterprise agile planning tool along with DevOps capabilities. Enterprises can use Agile to adopt agile practices or scale across multiple Scrum and Kanban teams using enterprise scaling frameworks such as Safe, Discipline Agile, Less and More. You can try out Agile for free for up to 20 users for 1 year by signing up at agile.io. Or you can also reach out to us for any inquiries or exclusive product demo. Request everybody to check out the Agile page on Agile Network India website for more information. Thank you. All right, over to you, Amruta and Bharat. Thank you.
Okay. Hello everyone. Welcome to Agile Network India and the What chapter. Today we have Bharat with us, who will be giving presentation on to be or not to be agile. Welcome, Bharat. I'll be handing over the session to him.
Sure. Can you please allow me to share the screen?
Yes, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all. Thank you, ANI, for giving me such a nice opportunity to present my views about to be or not to be agile. I hope everyone is able to see my screen. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
So, guys, we can start from here. So let's talk about the title we have today, that is to be or not to be agile. Okay, so that comes with a statement here which says about if you make any plan which is not allowing any modification, not supporting any modification, so that is indeed a bad plan to execute. Okay, so whatever plan we have, we should always be having a room to adjust the modifications. Okay, so with this statement we start our presentation here. So here I will talk about myself. You can see my smiley face here. Yeah. So like myself, Bharat Bambani, I come with 20 years of software industry experience, and I have worked all aspects of IT projects and services. The core competencies, I will be more likely to involve in IT planning, IT strategies, and project executions. I own a small company called Need Software, and we own a small e-commerce solution which is named as in my own outlet, which is actually to be giving solutions to the small and mid-sized retailers so that they can go online with their retail shops. In this tenure, I work with senior and middle level managerial positions among big organizations as well. I was part of implementing processes and the different methodologies within the companies. I was involved to take a decision on which methodology is good for executing any particular project. And that's how I come up with the areas like how to take a better judgment about when you choose a different project methodologies. Okay, especially definitely I love agile methodology, and I am a contributor in a book called The Art of Agile Practices, which is written by Mr. Bhuvan Unelkar. He's from Australia, and definitely I undergone a lot of trainings related to the project management and agile. Yeah, so this is just a brief summary about myself here. So a small disclaimer I just want to make before I start, like all the shared views in this presentations are my personal, and definitely those are purely based on experience with my clients and the projects we worked in my career. So definitely those all are the views which are actually extract from those experiences. And I use some images or some phrases in this presentation to make it more useful. So those are just here to be for learning curve only. Okay, now every presentation has got some interesting facts. Okay, and everybody would love to have some takeaways from the presentation. Okay, so let's talk about some takeaways which you are going to have from this presentation. Indeed, I would be more interested how the Q&A round goes after once I finish it here. So I will be more interested to discuss those queries and those aspects at that time. But still, from my end, I am definitely trying to give you some takeaways from my presentation. That is like, is there a world beyond Agile? How the key areas like project nature, stakeholders nature, budgeting, and estimation impacts your choice of doing Agile versus others. How can you win the customer's confidence by getting them in market earlier and faster? This is very, very important in today's scenario. So definitely I will be talking more about this, and I will be sharing with you an example which can giving you help even if you're coming working with a young entrepreneur especially. Then how Agile is used to make an organization a better place to work eventually. Okay, so these are the actually key highlights I'm trying to cover from this. So see, basically like any project methodology is set to define a project in a good shape. The ultimate goal of the project methodology is to deliver something which is going to be used by an end customer and making satisfied, right? So that is what the last goal is. Now, when we talk about to be agile or not to be agile, so like why I try to choose that area. See, the fact is like nowadays we hear agile everywhere, okay, and every company is like they are feeling proud that they have been using agile, which is good actually, right? Now, coming back to the point, like even that is good, every company is using agile. So like still why we still see people like keep struggling with their working hours, be struggling with the scope, we stop like struggling with the cost difference at the end of the project, and they are still like we are seeing a lot of gaps when it comes to the on the floor while using agility. Okay, so now like I think it starts from at the level when you actually go to the client, you get the project with you, you get the agreement signed, you win the project actually, right? So what are the factors at business account level we should be looking at with like agile versus other methodologies? Okay, now here are the key factors. One is like the overall expectation of the client or the project. Is it definable or it's a highly uncertain in nature? So highly uncertain in nature, it may happen like because there are a lot of projects, a lot of applications coming in the market, which are actually being trending with the market change. Okay, nowadays market is being changed very fast. Okay, so that is one of the factor which is going to helpful for us to define like which methodology we should be using to execute the project, right? So what are the key factors? So one is like your project is, you can define the project in the first shot itself, or you think it's kind of a ongoing based requirements changes are going to come. Now, low or high, what is the degree of change that project attracts to? It's a low or it's a high degree of change that project has got nature in. Okay, so that is something you can sense when you are actually getting into the project at the very first level. Again, what is the frequency of delivery? Okay, so if your client is good to have a delivery in once, good enough. If that is his wish, maybe, and there are nothing wrong. I will be telling you in more in the examples in the coming slide, like why we say that. Okay, but still there are chances, there are clients who are looking for a more frequent deliveries, right? So that criteria will also define us like whether we are going to use agile versus other methodologies here. Okay. Now, very important aspect is stakeholders' future or business urgency based on the project. Like whenever any stakeholder come to us, we need to get a sense of this urgency, business urgency rather. Okay, we need to get a sense of the future they are trying to get into. Okay, so now when your stakeholder is planning to something which is actually directly related with their business bread and butter. Okay, so that is one type of urgency. Now there is another aspect whereas some businessmen or some businesses require a product or application as a value addition to his business. Okay, so there are different type of natures of the product projects you can define in terms of the stakeholders nature, right? Okay, now those stakeholders are open to change or not open to change. See, as in like there is a mindset. Okay, so you are running in company as an owner. Okay, and you are looking forward for automation within your organization. Okay, so that is your openness towards change. Okay, at the same place you are already running with a small application or maybe some small internal protocols which you are fine with. That means you are not open for change. So for you, the world is that in that much only you are good to them. So that type of sense we must have when we are actually getting into the requirement analysis of the project. Okay, so maybe these are the main key factors we need to consider at the level of when we are getting into the business account relationship. Okay, now see, it's always okay to say no to anything. Okay, So nothing wrong. The only aspect is we need to be able to justify that no. Okay. So when we say no to agile, so what is the reason? Like what could be the probable cause? Like I use the word called doing agile here. Why doing agile is not for everyone. Doing agile is different than being agile. Okay. So if we are saying no to do agile, so here we are going to concentrate on such examples only. Okay. Simple example, when your client has a very clear development goal. So now if you see this screen here, okay, so what is this? Actually, I think everyone can guess. This is a point of sale machine, okay? Now, if you see another aspect is accounting system. Okay. Now, why I'm giving these two examples here? Now, these two examples actually has got a very clear understanding in terms of the functionalities. So anywhere you are supposed to develop point of sale system or accounting system, right? So you can be very predictive actually. So there is no point to think lot of things about it. Actually, you can be very predictable because in the past, lot of companies has already developed that point of sale features. And every company, when they go to the point of sale software or the accounting software, most of the time they have all very clear goals like what they'll be looking forward for. Okay. So like if you have a very defined goal, you have a very defined timeline. So as in like no company will tell you, okay, I want to get a develop accounting software system and you can take the time as you want. Okay. But then there is always going to be a cut off time for that because they have the business goals related to that. Okay. Now you talk about point of sale system, you talk about the account. These are the traditional systems which are already in practice since years. So you can easily define the list of functionalities, list of features it may be involving, right? So that way it is very clear that you are justifying with the client's need. You know what is looking for, and then definitely you are starting development on that. Now, some client come to you. Another example. Okay, so the client comes to you, say that I want a 5-page website with the basic information covered. That means like he's very much clear about what he's looking for. Okay, so he knows like I want a very basic website for my corporate. So I'm a small client, I have a small budget, I have a small timeline. So I have a very small requirement. Okay, so if he's clear in his requirement, he's clear with his business goal. Definitely, so we can definitely go with that route, and we can just get the things out in terms of the functional writing, requirements writing first, and then we can execute the development part aspect of it. Okay, now if your customers say like I need a requirement on every stage of the development, so usually what happens? Usually this happens when you are working on a proof of concept projects. So I can give you one example here. So the example is like one of our customer came to us and he said like, okay, I am looking forward for the application which should be able to read the data from a business card, hard business card. Okay, maybe later on he has got a different aspect. I will tell you that what was the later aspect. But the initial proof of concept was a very simple part. He said like I will give you a business card. You just need the data out of it, and you just need to make sure that all the fields in terms of name, address, contact number, and email should be read as it is. Okay, so that was a small projects we had. Okay, now we knew that's a proof of concept he's working on. Based on that, he will be going for a longer application, which may be used to interact like e-cards. Okay, and that e-cards information will be later used at big level, like institutions, colleges, and business meetings and everything. But that was the secondary goal. That was not a primary goal. So primary goal was whether we be able to achieve the first goal or not. Okay, so those type of projects are very clear in terms of the understanding, like some proof of concept projects. So you can take it accordingly. Okay, so once that proof of concept is done, that objective is done, then you can jump to the next level of the proof of concept, which comes how to get the data in the database of its own. Okay, so like step by step we have been going. So it's kind of iterative things you've been doing over there. Okay, so in such cases, definitely you should not be actually pushing customers to go for the agile at that stage, but that stage will come later where he needs to be agile, right? Okay, now coming to like the same chapter, why agile is not for everyone. Okay, now your customers doesn't want to hear about agile. So a very simple example I'm giving you. We have a project from one non-IT based company. which was actually a domestic company. It was a huge non-IT company. They are actually an engineering company, and they were using one ERP actually within the organization. The managing director of the company called us and they say, okay, so we have been looking for development MIS module, which can give us all the reports extracted from the ERP and should be web-based. Their ERP was actually a Windows-based. Okay, so now like it was kind of a bit of open thing. He said, I just wanted MIS module. He was not sure like how many reports he wants. They got all these things. Okay, but at the end, he wants everything to be done, and he was not to be bothered about it actually. So what we asked him, like, what all the reports we're looking for. So simply he asked his MIS executive to give us all the templates they were looking for. They gave us near to 35 or 40 templates they were looking for to be extracted from the ERP. Okay. Now, in such case, whenever I tell him was like this is what we've been looking for, he said, Bharat, don't bother me about small things. Don't like ask for the changes here. Okay. I just want this MIS model and you just finish it. That's what I want. Okay. So see, he will be not be bothering about whether I'm using agile, I'm not using agile. And see, from my standpoint, what I will be making sure here is like I should be able to give him what he's been looking for. That is my core objective there. Okay. Now, usually this approach will come to you with a very business oriented people, very business oriented people, as in like the people who are more interested to run their core business rather than how IT is going to help them at that level. Okay, so actually they are more busy with their core business. These are the right words to say. So I can give you a couple of examples. If you look at the doctors, maybe the educational institutes. So if you even talk to those people, the decision maker of those people, they are more busy with their core business because their business demands that actually, right? So they will be more talking about their core business other than you explaining in what is agile, like how been doing that. And hello.
All good, Bharat.
Oh, okay, fine. Yeah. So now the next part is like your team is still struggling to learn agile. Okay. Now what happens usually sometimes like we have a team. One thing I just want to add here, we may be an audience from small companies to big companies. Okay. So maybe people coming from 5 people team a company, maybe people coming from 5 lakh people company. So like see, it all depends about the culture within the company. Okay. So, and also again, the business, the way you execute the business. Small company, you do not have that flexibility to get the people in buffer and like give one task to one people at a time. So definitely you will be looking forward to more people who are multitasking and doing many things at the same time for you, right? So maybe that point of time, you do not have the people who are actually having that agile curve in their mind. Okay, so because most of the time they are working in a firefighting mode. Okay, so like if you are thinking to go with agile, so I would rather prefer to get your team trained first, invest in the training first, because see, until the team is understanding what is agile, what to take the benefits of the agile methodology, it's not worth to people work on that methodology actually. So better to invest some time, some trainings to that people, train them how to use agile, and then only get into the agile mode of, or go into the mode of adjusting agile within any of the project, right? So that's where a well-trained team, which is aware with the agile principle, should be very important. Okay. Now this is very important aspect. I think this thing I will be having some questions from the team who is actually listening. So what about the re-engineering projects? Okay, now here I can give you very perfect example. One of the client we had from USA. Okay, and actually that client was having an agriculture company, was running an agriculture company. Okay, and they have got their own patent and own algorithm. Whereas they've been working on some logics. And with some company they worked with earlier, and they got one software or the web application developed with that logic and to run that algorithm. Okay. Uh, Throughout some common connects, we came into the picture, and they shared that issue with us. They said that we have been looking forward for a company who can help us to develop a new phase in this for this project. So we asked a very simple question then, like what is the reason for not going with your previous company, from which you got to develop the new project? So they said that through that application we had got lot of issues, and the application is performing very slow. Okay, and it is giving a lot of troubles in terms of the real time execution. So how did we go ahead? We didn't jump on the new phase. We didn't show interest to execute the new phase. We actually offered them to re-engineer the project first, because what would have happened, like if we would have jumped to the new project, it would have used the same architecture and the same pattern, the same database, which would have actually caused a lot of problems in the new phase as well. So they agreed to us. So what we did is actually we take a re-engineer that whole project as an kind of a, you can say also a waterfall methodology. Okay, why? Because we were actually get into the identifying the issues, like what is the root cause of those issues. Okay, now interesting fact is when our team sit to find out the issues first, because see, that was not our ultimate goal to re-engineer the project. Our ultimate goal was to be associated with their client, give them a satisfaction, and be associated with them for the longer run. Okay, so what we did, we invested some time from our company in terms of the analyzing part. Okay, now to be surprised, like there were near to 250 tables and a lot of code which was unused, and the code written, it was not in a proper manner, it was not a clean code rather. So what we did is we offered them that we are going to re-engineer your phase, this phase, and then we will jump to the new phase. So this re-engineering phase, we didn't go for the agile. It was a very clear instruction that we have to redesign the project and we have to make the improvements in the project so that it performs fast. Okay, so the goal was very clear, and we had a very clear list of the issues which we could find out. So we worked on those issues, we re-engineered the whole project, and we showcased the improved performance of the same phase, the same projects they were being using earlier. So some of the things we did is like we reduced the table size, like there were 250 tables which were actually not required, and we bring down near to maybe 160 tables, and it was quite enough and quite good in terms of the taking care of the data. And then we did a good data migration activity and refactoring the code. Based on that, we could get the good stable version of that phase. Then he also had a confidence in our team, and he assigned, he offered us a new phase, which we took in an agile mode. So there are a lot of new functionalities they wanted to develop. So we got into that whole new phase with an agile mode, because we knew there are a lot of things we need to take care in terms of optimizing the project, and also trying to take care of the upcoming load, which is actually expected. Okay, so that's how we see that if you are re-engineering any projects, right? So basically you are improving the structure and design of the software. Okay, so if you are improving the design of software, that means why would have you been not doing at the time of doing it first, right? That means somewhere it's a kind of a conflict to the agile methodology, basically. So let's say when you say that agile is not compatible with the re-engineering, but agile is an alternative to re-engineering. Okay, so you are actually, if you are doing agile, that you are making sure that every stage you are making sure that you are taking care of all the aspects of the project, being it optimization, being it the performance, being it the UX, and being it all the satisfaction level of the client. Okay, it's not about just doing a project as a project and head it over the client. Okay, so basically agile expects us to change the approach as we develop our product, not after that. Okay, so that's where we understand like re-engineering projects should be always taken within that other approach than agile. Okay, now there is one more small note, and that is purely or when we work on maintenance projects. But that is not true always. Okay, reason, maintenance projects are having two natures basically. So one nature is mostly when client gets into execution of any application, they will go live. So they tend to have errors. Those are the runtime errors, because sometimes like you may not be, when you are developing the things, you may not be having those ideas of live environments, and you can get the errors. Okay, but when your project gets into maintenance, you tend to see those live errors coming in, and actually those are the priority for the client. Okay, so if your client says, okay, so I am very much concerned about the errors first, rather than you to talk about the new functionalities. Okay, because maintenance sometimes you give the new functionalities as well. Okay, now here doing agile may not help you, but being agile will help you here. Okay, now we say why being agile. Okay, so like being agile as in like for any company, if project is live, it's working fine. So it's for them it's very important. Then we take care of their bugs first rather than the new functionalities. Okay, because if somehow your project is not working on live, so there is no point for them to add new functions in it, right? It's very clear approach. Okay, so if you've been following a ticket-based approach where you have a lot of box tickets, then the new enhancements. So definitely the top priority for the client will be to solve the errors than to develop the new features. Okay, so better to take care of the bugs first. Okay, now here that's why I said you need to be being agile. You need to make sure that your deliveries are making clients life easy rather than miserable. Okay, and here, like whatever processes we follow, like it's a ticket-based system we follow, it's a like P1, P2, P3 process we follow. Whatever process we follow, it should be highly adaptable to the changing requirements and the environment of the client, right? So that is very, very important. So these are some of the examples I try to give you here, like where we should be actually avoiding agile, and definitely we can still live a good life. Okay, now coming to the budgeting and estimation. Now, see, like I had a very good discussion with some of my colleagues, actually my peers, and the people I know who are running their own companies. Okay, so there's a statement that agile needs a budget, not the estimation. Okay, it's a reverse process actually. Now you see the what survey I did. We did a small survey with 10 small software development companies. The size was 10 to 100. Okay, so 7 out of such companies shared that their cost estimations get influenced based on their or client's approach of doing agile. Okay, so if a company who is thinking to do agile, or is the software vendor who is planning to go for agile, the overall cost estimation, the overall budgeting will be definitely impacted somewhere. Okay, so it cannot be directly linked, but it is linked for sure. Okay, now there are two aspects. One is budget and one is estimation. Okay, now budget is always a hard number, and if you talk about the estimation, it's an open philosophy. The client comes to you, say, I want to develop this, and you give an estimate, it's an open philosophy. But the client comes to you, say that I have $1,000 to complete this, they have a budget for it. Okay. So if you go with the budget, then you will always be talking about a minimum viable product. It's an MVP. Okay, so I will be coming to that now. Now, however, one of our client has got benefit when we actually didn't offer an agile. We actually offered an agile other, and they could achieve their objective. A very, very interesting story. This is a client from Middle East. Okay, and the case studies here belongs to the e-commerce solutions. Okay, now the client, there was a group of 3 young entrepreneurs, and they had an idea to start an e-commerce solution which can give a daily subscription needs. Like if you've heard about companies called Big Bill Basket, or I think nowadays Big Basket is also doing that. Okay, so they had an idea to start a startup in the Middle East area, because in Middle East there were no such startups at that point of time. Okay, so they had a very limited budget because all were out of the jobs actually. So they want to get into the e-commerce side, and it was a purely subscription-based needs, like where user can come, register to the website, and then they can always subscribe to the daily items which is deliverable at their home. Okay. Now there could have been 2 approaches we could have thought of at that point of time. One is they could have taken a reference of any existing site and their features and asked us to get the estimation done. Okay, so they said, okay, like go over this website, look at the interface, look at the kind of traffic they've been generating, look at the features they have, and let me know how much it will take in terms of time, in terms of cost. Okay. Other approach is they could have decided a budget and must-have features to launch and look for funding. Okay, now these two are very, very different approaches in terms of the startups when they go for any new ideas in the market. Okay, now here the budgeting and estimation will be different if you compare agile versus other aspects. Okay, now what we did is we asked them to go for a budget aspect and adopt swipe in and swipe out approach. Okay, so swipe in and swipe out approach, how did it work? It works is like we had a must-have approach which was actually priority-based backlog. Right now, if you see here the list of the features we listed down, which can be accommodated within their budget. What was that? A very interactive theme with a defined UX. UX should have like all the standard UX which should be used within the e-commerce space with any e-commerce solution. Then a product management, product catalog management, interactive user registration process, which supports by mobile OTP and emails or other modes. Subscription management, reports to trend, wallet-based payments, and payment gateway integration. Okay, now these are the basic features they must have to start their own e-commerce platform for the subscription base. Now, at the same time, they also had the inclination to add some more things in that, which is actually subscription and delivery charges management, or maybe one-time buying facility, which we actually do with other e-commerce sites, and checkout for the time on one-time buying and web version of the same. Actually, they plan for the mobile application. Now, let me tell you one thing. When we talk about budgeting for agile versus others, one thing very interesting here is the technology. Okay, so mobile application can be developed in the native part of Android and iOS. At the same time, it can be developed using React Native. Okay, now I am not that technical enough to say what is good or what is not good, but definitely. So when you go for the new technology, which is actually as compared to React Native, is a comparatively new technology. So there are challenges you should be able to ready to get. Okay, so there are good challenges because the support and the community kind of feedbacks, which are less as compared to the native features. At the same time, your cost effort in terms of, because see, React Native resources are costly in terms of when you hire them to work on the project. Okay, so now the point here is you need to be very cautious when you are actually selecting the technology also. See, you can achieve both aspects with both of the technologies. You can also achieve Android, iOS both, and you can also achieve React Native both. In the long term, you can say, okay, React Native is good to maintain. You can have a good interaction with your live applications in the development mode. A lot of good features are there, but your budgeting must see that aspect. If you are trying to be in that budget, you have to make sure the technology is still not compromisable but achievable. Okay, so that was one of the points I just tried to highlight here. Okay, now with that approach, one is they wanted to get into the market early. Okay, now I think this image is very much clear with most of the everyone. We are able to see that in a lot of times. Like first approach, say, okay, you are going to have a car, but still at the end you are going to have a car. But intermediate stages are not supporting as a delivery things, right? The image below, you can use all the intermediate things as in delivery. Like you can always ride a cycle, you can always ride a sketch. Okay, so we took a second approach, and based on that, they were able to generate revenue directly. And at the place of revenue, they could have the live customers on their platform. Okay, and once they have live customers on their platform, however, there were limited functionalities, limited features on the e-commerce platform, but still they could generate a live leads, they could generate a live users, customers on their live platform, and that helped actually them to go to the angel investors and say, okay, boss, like we have already platform now, people are already there, they are connected with us, we have like customers, we are like deliveries happening. Now, based on that concept, they could generate a good funding, and now they are working on the phase 2, which are like enhancements to their current platform. Okay, so that's how selecting a right methodology at initial level help them to be very systematic and get into the market. Right now, one more aspect with agile, like is agile less variable. So when we say less variable, as in like when your cost of the project is actually overshooting. Okay, so whatever cost you have defined for the project, it's overshooting. The main root cause of that overshooting is it doesn't cover the risk of change request. Okay, and with agile, you can always say no to the change request. Okay, so when you say no to the change request, that means you have already covered all the aspects which could have affected change request the later stage. So the chances of being failure and maybe having a dissatisfaction is very less. Okay, so that's where you call agile is a less variable than the other methodologies here. Okay, now there are some unnoticed benefit of the agile. Okay, so what are those unnoticed benefits? Okay, so now with agile, like you have a team actually. So when you follow any framework of agile versus in other methodologies, maybe you do not have any defined framework. You have the steps defined with you, but you are not maybe not following any framework, because agile is mostly representing a concept rather than it's a kind of defining a culture rather than doing the things actually. Okay, so when you taking your working style within your culture, so definitely there are some good advantages are bound to come within that part. Okay, so now what are those parts which are actually helping us to when we use agile actually? Now with agile, you always allow your team to define a backlog. You always allow your team to speak. You always allow your team to take a judgment like how much load they can take. You can always allow, you are always allowing your team to decide like how much this task worth. Okay, you're always allowing your team to say like what is the definition of done. Okay, so ultimately when you're allowing your team to work in all these areas, so definitely like this situation whereas your team is more pressurized will convert into this where your team is more productive. Okay, so when you've been using agile, definitely your productivity is very high, and your team will be less in pressure. Okay, if you are implementing agile in the right manner as compared to the other methodologies. Okay, other aspect which I covered here is it changes everything within the organization, right? And as I said, mindset of the people will change. Now they will understand from the client prospect. They understand like what is important for the client, how is helping client to go to the market, the application they've been working on. They can easily map their business needs and the technical things within the same mindset of the client. Okay, so those type of culture like actually giving you independent workers or independent decision makers. Okay, now again, when we talk about agile, definitely there is a cross-functional things come in the picture. It's not only functional; it's about cross-functional team. So the right side picture will tell you the cross-functional team ready rather than the functional teams. Like you can always have a team which is having multiple, like you have designers, you have QAs, you have developers, you have business analysts. So everyone is working jointly. They are in sync on the day-to-day basis. Okay, then your future project planning and capacity is always an achievement. Okay, so how is that? Because see now your team understands like what is their capacity actually. So if your capacity planning is done, if your team is understanding like how good are they in terms of taking the advantage of taking the ownership. Like see sometimes if you give ownership to some task to anyone, so the guy is going to be more productive and more responsible as compared to if you put some pressure on them. So kind of top-down organizational approach will not help to implement the technology methodology here. So that's what I said. Like if you are mapping your culture, work culture with the way you are working, it's going to give you the good results always. Right. So I am done from my side, guys, and I'm open to questions now.
Thank you, Bharat, for such an insightful session. We'll be taking questions now. So, Bharat, we have a question for you. When you were talking about the future planning and capacity planning, right? Future
Yes.
project planning. So,
Yes.
I believe that methodology other than agile, when we do the waterfall, so when we say that, hey, the whole requirement is ready, so we still do the planning, correct?
Yes. Yes.
So, how that planning is different uh,
Okay.
than the agile planning and uh, how that can overall impact the budgeting and estimation. I mean, they are ultimately, somewhere interconnected. So if you help
Yes.
us to understand that, it would be very helpful.
Sure. Sure. Okay. Now, okay, it's a very valid question, and definitely it needs to be discussed here. Now, see, when you talk about waterfall methodology, like it's all about you go to step one to step two to step three to step four. Okay, and there are a lot of things. Like, see, you do planning, but who is doing the planning actually? You as a project manager, you as a project owner, you as a company owner doing the planning. Okay, because see there is an estimation in terms of the cost is involved there directly. You know, like there's a timeline defined that I need to finish this analysis in 10 days, I need to finish development in 20 days, I need to deliver it in 10 days. Okay, now the planning you've been doing, actually it is actually influenced by the pressure, influenced by the delivery rather than being actually realistic. So let me give you an example. So if you get a project whereas you are supposed to give X function to the client, now if you took one approach whereas step by step you are doing a planning, and there is an other way of doing a planning which is you are doing a one-shot planning. So one-shot planning will always be influenced by many other factors which are directly linked with the other aspects of the project. So when you are doing one step-by-step planning, which you do actually in Agile on like sprint by sprint planning, so you are always improving on that. See, there is no area of improvement we talk about. So in every sprint, we talk about the areas of improvement. Okay, that we do retrospective. Now, in these other methodologies, there is no such concept of doing the self-analysis of the failure of the planning or success of the planning. Here you are measuring the planning in a very, very structured way. So you know how our hours are being burned, how to do the risk mitigations, how to take care of the client priorities, how to make a change management at a high level. Okay, so like those mindset which actually goes within you, and that is being improved every sprint by sprint based on your own way of working. However, in the other way, in the waterfall, actually, at the end, you will get a lot of surprises, which is actually not being planned the way you have missed it because you do not have option to go back at any point of time. Okay, so that culture of doing retrospective, culture of doing self-analysis, culture of measuring the overall productivity, it's not doesn't exist in other project methodologies.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for that, Bharat. We have few more questions from audience. I would like
Sure.
to raise them. How how change in requirements can affect agility and then team members?
Okay, see, first of all, there is nothing called change in the agile. There is nothing called change management. Okay, so there is nothing called change request rather. Okay, so when you are doing agile, that means you are agile. Okay, so you are ready to accommodate everything which is coming to your way. Okay, so if you are working within the sprint, you know it's a defined protocol. This is a defined backlog. We are going to work on a defined time frame, right? So you know always there is an, as I said, like there's a swipe in and swipe out. Okay, so you can reshuffle your priorities. Okay, so that's the concept we follow in Agile. So you are reshuffling the priorities of the client. You are reshuffling the priorities of the product backlog based on the client need. So you will be always keeping a client satisfied and going with his business needs rather than what we have done earlier. Okay, so if you are looking forward for the like if you are running a sprint and within the sprint you got something which is coming as a change, so you have always facility to move down your user stories here and there. Okay, but still at least you've been doing making sure that all the user stories undergone all the aspects of the analysis, design, development, QA. Okay, so even if there isn't change happening, it is taken care in a well structured and disciplined manner.
Okay. Thank you for that, Bharat. Now we have a few more questions.
Sure.
How to turn customers from non-agile mindset to agile mindset?
Okay, I think very, very interesting. I was expecting this question. Now, see, I would say don't do that actually. Because see, I think earlier presentation I couldn't go through in detail, but I heard one thing in the that presentation. It was like you need to get into his shoes actually. See, every customer is not a big customer. Every customer is not a customer who can accommodate a lot of changes in his business. Okay. So what I would suggest here, like if you know what agile brings to him, okay. So you can always link to that philosophy to their business. Don't try to explain agile as a methodology. Try to understand because we are technical people. We do agile, but the person, I know this the client of e-commerce actually he has got their retail outstore as well there. It's an omni-channel retailer. Okay. Now if you want to get your customer, you want to win your customer in terms of the agile terms, so better to get into their business first. Try to understand how they're running their business and how the priority changes in their business. If you think like what you're offering is definitely going to help them in their business nature and their life much satisfied, definitely ask them to get into that. But don't try to tell them as a methodology. Try to tell them a nature. Right? See, it's a concept. Okay. So what you are trying to do here is you are asking them, boss, this is your business. This is what you need. If there are some mindset, if you change in terms of the way you adopt the changes, the way you see your clients coming in, and clients coming in. So if you go with this approach, this can definitely help you. Okay. So see, every customer is like good at their business. Like they understand what is going on with their business. If they really see the help within their business, then only they will be convinced. Otherwise, if you tell them a theory from agile, they will not be convinced. So better to get into their business first, understand the concerns, understand the challenges, and then map your agile methodologies, concepts within this business need, and then like convert them within the agility. As I give an example, right? So the engineering of that project, okay, we could have done that part. Okay, for the winning of the customer, we could have just directly jumped to the new phase of development because he came to us for the developing a new phase only. But what we did is we tried to understand the root cause first. So that's how we need to go actually, step by step. So a winning and customer on project methodologies base would need lot of exercise from a lot of homework from your side to see like how are they working, or what's the need of their day-to-day base operations and everything, and then only you can suggest the change in the nature of the execution.
Okay. Thank you. Hope this answers. Moving on to the next question, we have,
Sure.
can you please elaborate on your insights on getting customer also to the fail fast and learn from it mindset?
Sorry, I didn't have you again.
Yes, I can repeat the question.
Yeah, sure,
Can you
please.
please elaborate on your insights on getting customer also to the fail fast and learn from it mindset?
I would say, see, actually, this is a tricky question. Now, actually, it will go case to case base. Okay. So, usually, what I personally feel is uh, we try to judge customer most of the time. Okay. And we try to see like what we are going to get out of the agreement, out of the relationship. Okay. But I think before that, what we need to do is like we need to see how productive we can be. Okay. So first thing I would start with that actually. So customer can fail, definitely he can fail, and then he can learn about mindset. But see, it may happen that he never comes back to us. But see, like we need to avoid that part actually. So from the day one, whenever we get into the discussion with the client in terms of their expectations and their needs, we try to make sure that everything is taken care from the day one rather than like giving them surprises after 2 or 3 months. So usually what happens, they also see all the factors are not in your head, especially the budgeting, especially their end clients, the acquisition of their end clients and all these things. But what you can always do, try to do is anticipate few things from their end. Okay. So I would say rather allowing them to fail on something rather than help them to achieve a small milestones, so that at least even they achieve a 5% of what they were looking for, they will have some faith and more confidence in them rather than they fail upfront. So mindset of the customers, if get changed, it may impact your relationship as well sometimes. I hope it answered or
Hope this is answered. Okay. Moving to the next question.
sure.
How to make some business leaders with agile mindset not following agile? Like example of disrupting BSM, changing team
Sorry.
member. Okay, repeating myself. How
Sure.
to make some business leaders with agile mindset not following agile? Like example is given for disrupting BSM, changing the team members, not following
Okay.
agile. Okay. Yeah.
Uh, See, I think here. Hello. Hello.
Yes, Bharat.
Okay. So, see, agile is a culture. Okay, agile is not a something which is a hardcore thing. Okay, so if any culture you bring in to any people or bring it to the organization, okay, so it's very important to prove that culture or the behavioral aspect within the organization needs uh, to like kind of to be the change you want to see. The statement falls true here. Okay, so you need to be the change which you want to be. Okay, so sometimes like the people not having that agile mindset and still behaving the same, like kind of giving instructions, not taking the inputs, right? So basically, how the best approach here could be to implement the framework right. Okay, so if you have implemented the framework right within your organization, okay, so definitely the inputs from that framework will help you to identify such root causes. Okay, now example, if you have an X person who have been actually bound to run agile, but still that overall leadership, the overall culture within the team on the floor, it's not being seen very, very clearly. The reason is we may not be reading the right outputs from the framework. Okay, so whatever framework you follow, you make sure that you are reading right outputs from the framework. So if you read the right frameworks, you will be able to judge, or you will be able to convey the same messages to the people. Okay, so if you think that agile is something which can give you the right benefit, can change your life, that can make your people more happy, so that should be actually visible from the artifacts, not from the words. Okay, so words can do anything, but artifacts can do the magics. So basically, you go with the artifacts, look at how the framework is being showing on the screen, and based on that, try to convince those people. So they will be able to more judgmental, they will be able to more accommodative if they look at the artifacts other than the words.
Okay. Mm, that's wonderful.
You want to go into more detail of it? Any other any lifetime example you want to discuss, or how is it?
Yeah, hi Bharat and Amrita. I guess we are over the time, so
Oh,
probably
okay.
we have to stop. And people, they can message you on LinkedIn, or they can also reach out to you or on your email. If you could write your email
Sure.
address in the chat, and they'll
Yeah, sure.
post their.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
we have.
can just. Yeah. Okay. So this is my email address. You can reach out to us, and this is my mobile number. You can be connected with me anytime.
All right. Thank you so much, Bharat, and thank you so much, Amruta, for a wonderful session.
Thank you,
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
everyone.
Thanks for your time. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for your time.